I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when I was reading your interpretation or translation of the Zips forecast, how it applies to the Cardinals in 2024, you like their offense, and Zips has questions about the pitching staff, the rotation even beyond Sonny Gray. So, I mean, I'm going to shut up about it. I mean, how does Zips see the Cardinals? What do you think if Cardinals fans are looking for some things that give them hope, what would that be if there's something Zips spit out at you that says, no, not this team, not in 24, what would that be?
I mean, Zips isn't obviously ecstatic about the pitching staff, but it does think that they are deep enough right now. They have a lot of, decent third, fourth starter types that they can avoid the kind of disaster that happened in 2023. Because I don't think anyone would describe the pitching staff, especially the rotation, as anything but a nearly unmitigated disaster last season.
Yes.
And that's why they lost 91 games. But the thing about teams having surprisingly poor seasons is that people will always tend to underrate teams having horrid years and will overrate the teams having great years. I used to see that with the Yankees all the time. A few years ago when they played 700 ball for 2 months and Zips was only projected to play 600 ball the rest of the way, they're like, no, how dare you? It's just there's this tendency to kind of get too upset or excited about suddenly surprising play. I think the bet is that the Cardinals will be good, not great in 2024, although there's still, a lot of postseason or off-season to go.
How does I want to ask you about some individual players, if I could. Two guys, well, and it's not even Arenado and Goldie, although I'll get to that next. But one of the big things in terms of the Cardinals' 2024 season is Nolan Gorman improved offensively last season. There's no doubt he took a step forward. Still has work to do. Jordan Walker hit the ball on the ground way too much, but other than that, if you just look at his just bottom line numbers for a 21-year-old who made the jump from Double-A, pretty good. Does Zips like these guys in terms of what they're capable of doing in 2024?
As offensive players, I mean, Zips likes both of them. Nolan Gorman projects with as good an on-base percentage and slugging percentage as Nolan Arenado does. Zips still thinks that Jordan Walker has a lot of offensive upside. It has him at the highest or the second highest OPS plus on the team for 2024 behind Paul Goldschmidt. The question, of course, is just where their defense is. How much can you push Gorman at a tougher position? Can Jordan Walker play any outfield position? Those are kind of the questions that the Cards are going to have to answer because Walker had, a lot of sunny spots in his rookie season, but the defense was just a disaster at times.
He did get better, and listen, man, I just so you know, I'm not being a homer here because I wrote a lot of tough things and said a lot of tough things about Walker's brutal defense last season, but Willie McGee worked with him every day. I mean, and it started to pay off. You could see it the final 6-7 weeks. He was much more confident out there, and I know he spent a lot of time. The kid does care. Spent a lot of time this offseason working on it again. I think he'll be okay. I'm not going to say great, but I think he'll be okay out there because you could see signs of that later in the season. And I thought Gorman played a passable second base, if that's the way to put it, if that's a good way to put it. So who knows? But listen, their defense last year was when you have I'm telling you what you already know. When you have a pitching staff that doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, especially the starters, and you have bad defense behind it, Cardinals the balls in play batting average against the Cardinals last season was the highest against the Cardinals staff since 1896. If that gives you an idea of what a liability their defense was, that might be my favorite stat of 2024. I may not be able to top that the rest of the year. Is there any way to gauge defensive improvement or a guy getting worse defensively? Does Zips have any kind of handle on that?
Well, the thing about defense is defensive measures are very inaccurate, so to speak, because when you're measuring a player's hitting ability, you're essentially counting events that happen. They hit a home run, they hit a double, they draw a walk. When you're trying to evaluate defense statistically, you're basically evaluating players on what didn't happen. And that requires a lot of, mathematical guesswork, a little bit of estimation. So the fact that their defensive numbers were so poor, especially Walker, does not mean that there's no hope. I mean, Zips actually has Walker only 8 runs below average in a corner outfield spot in 2024, which would be a significant improvement. It only has Gorman at 4 runs below average. And I think if they put up those numbers, I don't think the Cardinals would be terribly upset about that. But you're right about the defense kind of showing a hole, not covering for the pitching staff anymore, because the Cardinals before 2024 did have, one of the top defenses in baseball for a long time, which kind of had synergy with these pitchers who allowed a lot of contact. When you don't have that defense anymore, the pitching can go, the wheels can come off that apple cart pretty quickly, let's just say. I would have liked, I think, the Cardinals to say go after Kevin Kiermaier, maybe make Tommy Edman a super sub that gets 600 plate appearances across a number of positions. But I do think this team will likely be better defensively than last year. Just they have to be.
I think so too. And part of it is that I really do believe they're going to emphasize that they may be taking more care as far as having faith in their offense, and that they won't be moving guys around to the extent to where you're really putting. Defensively, you're putting a bad team on the field. I think they're really going to try to sacrifice, not sell out just for offense. They've got to tend to their defense and not putting bad guys out there. Basically, is what it comes down to, or moving them around so much. One thing I wanted to mention, and our guest is Dan Szymborski of Fangraphs, who the creator of Zips, which is. An annual event in Major League Baseball among baseball people, in front offices everywhere. Everyone wants to see how the Zips projections match up to their own internal projections, and it's really a credit, a compliment to Dan Szymborski. One thing you said, I'm just going to read it because this is interesting. I'm one of the worry warts about the Cardinals bullpen, and Zips said, through you, quote, the bullpen gets a solid set of projections with 5 relievers getting ERA projections in the 3s. And you say Andre Palante could make it 6 if you just look at his ERA projection as a reliever. So tell us why you think maybe it ends right there, but tell us why you think Zips has a pretty favorable view of the Cardinals bullpen, because there's a lot of worry and angst on the ground here about that.
Well, I mean, you hopefully have a healthier Ryan Helsley with a full year under his belt. Hopefully Gallegos is healthy. Zips is optimistic about JoJo Romero, John King. I mean, there are a lot of guys that Zips is interested in who do have a record of maybe not being dominant relief pitchers, unless you're talking about Helsley, but guys who do have good control, avoid allowing home runs in the late innings. And if the defense is improved, the bullpen will be improved as well. I think the story with bullpens is there's fans of 29 teams that hate their team's bullpen, and maybe one team who the fans love their bullpen.
I want to ask you about Arenado and Goldschmidt. Goldschmidt's going to play all of next season, his age 36 season. Arenado turns 33 in April. Last year, Goldie had a 120 OPS plus. Arenado had a 107 OPS or a 109 OPS plus. Zip sees them doing better, but not that much better. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, basically, when you're projecting an older player and they fall off a little bit, they're not quite as resilient as coming back the following season as they would be, say, at 25, 26, or 27. That's not to say they're not really good players still, and they do get fine projections. But once you're talking about guys who are in their mid-30s, even if you expect them to have, a gradual decline towards retirement, there is a lot of risk every year of the sudden drop off the cliff, like Wile E. Coyote walking into thin air and then reading a book about gravity and collapsing. Hopefully people remember the cartoon I'm referencing.
Yes.
But
yes.
So as time goes on every year, the Cardinals will have to basically count on Arenado and Goldschmidt a little bit less. Obviously, there's no extension right now with Goldschmidt, but there could be. But as time goes on, they're going to play less and less of a part of the offense. It just probably won't be 2024 that happens, but it could be, and everyone has to kind of be aware of that risk.
I'm not going to pick a fight with my friend Dan Szymborski. He is only the spokesman for Zips, right? So don't beat up the spokes. But no, I want to. I'm just kidding. I'm having some fun. If I had one bone to pick, and maybe there's a few little ones, but Zips has got, in terms of OPS plus, they've got Dylan Carlson, Brendan Donovan at the same 108. I would have to debate Zips on that one. And I would recognize that Zips is a hell of a lot smarter than I am, but Donovan just seems to be an ascending offensive player, and Carlson has been anything but. Could you interpret why you think Zips came to that conclusion?
Well, one thing is when you look at kind of their secondary numbers, their StatCast data, Dylan Carlson had a 256 batting average on balls in play last year, and it's kind of hard to sustain something that low. And the fact is, he did have a really good season at age 22 in the majors. And just looking at last season will tend to make you it's not a great projection system. 2023 is not a great projection system for 2024. You have to look at a player's longer history. And the fact that he's 2 years younger than Donovan does mean there's just that added little chance that Dylan Carlson takes a big step forward. Because players peak younger than I think fans generally believe. I think there's still kind of this belief that a 28-year-old is entering their prime years, but that's not really the case. 26 and 27 are generally the peak years when you're charting it out, depending on how you choose to do that.
Going back to starting pitching, Zips really likes Sonny Gray. Zips is kind of lukewarm. Maybe I'm even overstating it. Zips is kind of like, okay, Lynn, Gibson, okay.
That's about right.
Yeah. What about Miles Michaelis, and what about Steven Matz?
Well, it's funny because after Sonny Gray, you have like 6 or 7 guys who almost got the same projection, which was kind of amusing. But Zips is not completely sold that the Cardinals' defense is going to be amazing, at least back to the standards that they were at their peak. And the fact is, Michaelis is. We're talking about guys who are in their mid-30s, and that's kind of when you're starting to see the age where pitchers do start to decline. I always say that hitters age and pitchers break, but when you're talking a guy who's going to be 35 or 36 or 37 in the case of Lance Lynn, then decline does become a very serious concern. But Zips loves Sonny Gray. It actually thinks that there's the potential for his strikeout rate based on his contact data last year from hitters to actually have his strikeout rate go back to what it was a few years ago, that his 9 strikeouts per 9 slightly underrated his potential. So Zips loved the Sonny Gray signing. It was about Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn.
I'm kind of like in the Gibson is underrated camp. I'm not in any way suggesting to you that I think he's a great starter, but I think and this has nothing to do with Zips. It's just like the general impression. I think you look at all of the 6+ inning starts. You look at all the quality starts. He's a reliable guy in that way, and even last year. And again, I should not be addicted to like 2023 stats, but if you look at his fielding independent ERA last season, it wasn't bad at all. And Lynn, I definitely have some skepticism there. The Cardinals believe they found something, but we hear that all the time. That's what they always say. But maybe Busch Stadium will help them. I don't know. But I think if Zips is kind of concerned about Lance Lynn, I would agree with that. Probably not as much so with Kyle Gibson. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, the thing about Gibson is he's not a great pitcher by any stretch of the imagination, but he's what passes for a durable pitcher in 2024. I think the last time he was on the disabled list or the injured list was 2016, maybe, unless I'm forgetting something. But when you have a lot of guys who are only throwing 5 innings, that puts extra strain on the bullpen. That's been a worry for the Cardinals. So, if Gibson can have a lot of starts where he throws 6 or 7 innings, allows 3 or 4 runs, it doesn't really, no one's excited about that, but it does save the pen a little bit. And if you're trying to wring as much out of your relief corps as you can, it does help to have a guy who can do that. So there is certainly value there.
Dan Szymborski, I know you're very, very busy, man. And people, listen, if people want to read this, and boy, there are stats galore. The one thing I love about Zips is near age offensive comps where you can see Nolan Arenado at his age, who the number one comp would be to him. Like, for example, Aramis Ramirez. The second comp, Mike Lowell. The third comp, my guy, your guy, Brooks Robinson. That kind of stuff is fun to me, and it's interesting to me. So even if fans don't want to read the numbers so much that Zips put out, to look at each Cardinals player based on their age and who was closely their performance would approximate at that age. I think that's really fun stuff to look at. So thanks for doing that. But thanks for I want to tell people all you got to do is Google Zips Forecast Cardinals 2024, and you'll get the link. It'll pop right up. And we appreciate Dan. We appreciate Fangraphs. Thanks for giving us some time because we know you're busy as could be.
Well, I'll always give you time, Bernie. There's no question there. But thanks for having me as usual.
You got it. Good job on explaining all this. It's always great. Thank you. So that is Dan Szymborski. Yeah, I like these comps, man. I think comps are fun. Like the number one age-related comp for Nolan Arenado is Aramis Ramirez, and who was a pretty good hitter.
Yeah.
The Tommy Edman age-related number one comp, Jimmy Rollins.
If he's that good, I'd take him.
Paul Goldschmidt, number one age-related comp, Jason Worth. Ooh. Second is Edgar Martinez. Third is Lou Gehrig.
Lou Gehrig,
now,
wow.
I don't want to make a tasteless joke, but I mean, which Lou Gehrig are we talking about
well,
as far as like?
Yeah.
And I'm not in any way talking about ALS, but I'm talking about he did start to fade. Maybe as he was getting closer to finding out what was wrong with him. So I'm not sure what, but that stuff is interesting to me. Lars Nootbaar, number one age-related comp, Cody Bellinger.
Oh.
This one makes me giggle.
Okay.
Mason Wynn, age-related comp for all you 1960s, late 60s baseball fans.
Uh-huh.
Zoyo Versalles. Remember him for the Minnesota Twins?
I don't remember him.
Well, you were young then.
I don't remember.
Or you may not even been around then.
I wasn't, but I don't know much about him.
Number one age-related comp for Nolan Gorman is Evan Longoria. Again, at that age. At Gorman's age.
Okay.
Jordan Walker, number one age-related comp, Chet Lemon.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah. I can see some similarities there with those two, yeah.
Dylan Carlson, Phil Cavaretta, I don't even know who he is, which probably makes it a good comp as far as accuracy. Brendan Donovan, Tim Flannery.
Oh. I think he's better than that one.
Yeah, although Tim Flannery, when he got it like 84, 85, 86, he was
with
about
the Padres.
He was about 30. He was about 20, 30. He was about 13% above average. So
okay.
I mean, if Zips thinks that Brendan Donovan's going to be like 10% above average, then I can see where that's a comp. But I think Brendan Donovan's going to be better.
I do too. I think he's got better power than Tim Flannery.
And see, comps doesn't. Excuse me. Zips doesn't know like what a hitter's been working on,
Right.
So
right.
It's sometimes it's really hard to accurately project.
I get that.
Let me a couple more comps for y'all. Alec Burleson, same age, number one comp. Derek May, remember him?
I do.
Let's see. Going on down the list. Did I hit Jordan Walker? Yeah, Chet Lemon.
Yeah, Chet Lemon. That's a nice one.
Wilson Contreras at his age. Carlton Fisk.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's real good.
Lars Nootbaar already said. Mason Wynn already said. Those are the primary.
Does it do pitchers?
Yeah, it does.
Sonny Gray. I'm just curious what the.
Let me get down to this, and then
Zips loves him, and I think that's a good thing. But I just be curious what.
Yeah, I'm making my way down the list here, and we'll get to it. All right. Sonny Gray's number 1 comp is Jake Arrieta, and that's the good version of Jake Arrieta.
The good version of Jake Arrieta was very, very good.
Second comp, second most accurate comp at that same age. Jim Palmer. All right.
Oh.
I'll take it. Darryl Kyle is the third comp.
That's still quality.
That's pretty good.
That's real good.
Yeah, so I want to hear now from people, tell me why Sonny Gray's so bad. Miles Michaelis, Jeremy Guthrie, Jeff Samardzija, and Jason Hamill. 1, 2, 3. Guthrie was okay for a while.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, that one just doesn't excite me.
Kyle Gibson, a guy that was way before my time. In fact, he pitched in the 40s and 50s. His number 1 comp is a gentleman named Al Gettel or Gettel. You know?
Okay.
Now, if you actually look, well, yeah. I hope not.
You hope not. Not as good as we would hope.
1951. But
different game. I get all that.
But Gibson was actually better than this guy.
Okay.
By some amount at the relative age. So I don't know if that one. I don't know if I buy that one. But I am the town's Kyle Gibson apologist. So, what do you want me to say? All I know is that for last year and also the last 3 years, he's got more quality starts than Aaron Nola and Dylan Cease.
That says a lot.
I'm confused by this notion that he's just some mediocrity. Oh, and by the way, here I go again. When the Cardinals got a quality start from one of their guys last year, the problem is they didn't get enough of them. They were 33-15, okay?
That's still a crazy number.
If you get a quality start, you got a hell of a lot better chance of winning a game than when you don't. The Cardinals' record without a quality start was absolutely horrendous. So sometimes I'm a little confused by what how they defined a solid starting pitcher. I don't know. Like our guy Dan Szymborski just pointed out, Gibson doesn't get hurt. There's always going to be a time, but he's incredibly durable. He cranks out a lot of innings. He cranks out a lot of quality starts. He cranks out more quality starts than pitchers making 10 times as much money and have 100 times of a bigger reputation. But they don't match him in innings. They don't match him in quality starts. I don't get it. I don't understand the disconnect there.
I really, as the game has evolved, especially in the last, 6 years, the amount of innings is just like gold, even more so than maybe years past, I think.
Ben Lindbergh at The Ringer wrote a piece about that.
Oh, did he? Okay.
These innings eaters are like becoming a vanishing breed.
They are.
Cardinals, and it's interesting because, again, John Mozeliak's being ripped for bringing in 3 innings guys, durable guys. And, unless you thought that, Blake Snell, Aaron Nola, and Yamamoto were on the way, I think that his approach made a hell of a lot of sense. And then again, I do a lot of research on why I come to my opinion on that. And when the Cardinals get starts that go 6+ innings, their record is very, very good. And all 3 of those pitchers crank out 6+ inning starts, a lot of them. So, I just refuse to believe Lynn will be as bad as he was last year. And I know that's not much of an endorsement. But if his fly ball home run rate can normalize and Busch Stadium will help, it'll calm everything down. And I think Lance Lynn's ticked off. I think he wants to keep pitching. And I think he wants to kind of show everybody, I was crap last year. I'm not trying to deny it, but that's not me. I got kicked in the teeth, and I'm going to do something about it. I'll bet on Lynn. I ain't saying, he's going to get Cy Young votes. I'm not saying that. I'll just bet on him. I'm more willing to bet on him being a solid back-of-the-rotation starter than all the people that have already basically called him garbage.
I'd agree with that.
So that's all I'm trying to say. Hold on one second. Let me get back to
while you're doing that, the 5-inning thing too.
Yeah, please.
I
I'm sorry.
heard something, a lot of talk about Tink Hence, right, over the weekend, some noise about him. Oh, he's going to – and all I keep hearing is, well, he's only about a 5-inning pitcher. And I go, so what? That's what everybody is.
What does that mean?
It's like, so, yeah, everybody's a 5-inning pitcher these days. Don't play that off. Don't expect him to come up there and be 7-inning guy right from the start. If he's giving you 5 innings and he's quality, get him here and let him pitch. So I didn't mean to get us off track.
No, it's relevant because it goes along with Ben Lindbergh. If you look at the numbers on it, I don't have them, but if you look at the numbers on it, it really is amazing the number of the way, the idea these guys are going to go 6, 7, 8 innings. It's just like they get less and less every year.
Right.
So I'm not sure why fans and a lot of mainstream media, I'm not sure why they can't adjust what their expectations are.
I'm with you.
They're holding it to a standard that's no longer in place.
He can't go 7. Oh, I don't care. Everybody else is only going 5 to 6. If he can do that, he's part of the solution.
So on one hand, you got at least a percentage, and when I say that, I'm saying a percentage. I'm not saying all Cardinals fans because I get blamed for that all the time. Oh, he's ripping all the – no, I'm not. I'm saying a percentage of them.
Right.
On one hand, they're telling Jim Hewer, well, it's just Tink Hence. He's only going to pitch 5 innings, and so what's so special about a guy giving you 5 innings? Same people ridiculing the idea that Mo went out and signed guys that'll give you big innings. Well, which one is it? You can't have it both ways. Which one is it?
So true.
You want the innings, or do you want a 4 or 5 inning guy that might have better stuff? And how do we know he's going to have better stuff? Listen, I'm a Tink Hence guy, don't get me wrong. But they have babied him every step of the way. And his performance once he moved up a level last year just really wasn't very good. And he's been downgraded by third-party sites. He's been downgraded, at least in terms of the excitement, enthusiasm over him. He's been downgraded by third-party prospect.
Cooled off, you're right.
So I don't know, man.
We talk about it.
Lance Lynn, Elmer Singleton. I don't know who that is.
I don't know Elmer.
Steven Matz, Gary Peters. Well, I hope it's the 1967 Gary Peters. I don't think it will be. Right?
Yes.
This stuff's hysterical.
Good stuff there.
Ryan Helsley, Troy Percival. That makes sense.
Oh, I'll take Troy.
Gallegos, Justin Miller. Ooh, that's not a compliment.
Oh no,
that's not a good one.
No,
right? Nick Roberts and George Frazier. That wouldn't be bad.
Okay, George was quality at times.
So anyway, this stuff's good. But again, it's hard to kind of find it when you go through the Fangraphs portal. The best thing for you to do is just really, like I was saying, just go to Google, put in Zips. You don't even have to, just put ZIPS, Zips forecast 2024 Cardinals. That's all you got to do. The link will pop right up. Yep. Here on the Bernie Show, a little bit after 5 o'clock, we're at Friendly Sports Bar and Grill on South County at Bayless and 55. When we return, I want to talk a little bit about Goldie and Arenado. I think they're going to do better this year. I have my reasons because I just don't fling things. I put a lot of research and a lot of homework, a lot of stuff in terms of trying to get to the answer. But I'm going to start off by explaining, and I put it in like different statistical terms that are not complicated, how much those two as a combination, how much they fell off from 2022 to 2023, and why the Cardinals need them. They're not going to get back to 2022 standards, but why they need them to be better than they were as a tandem in 2023. But I think they can do that.